Why should race matter for the NFL MVP? Mike McCarthy is out in Dallas. Will a team trade for Mike Tomlin? And wait till you hear what Mark Zuckerberg and John Fetterman said to Joe Rogan. The Ricky Cobb Show starts right now. The greatest rivalry of the 2020s? I'm going to put forth ESPN and Clay Travis. And that rivalry continues this week. Robert Griffin III, after Justin Herbert's terrible performance against the Houston Texans, Justin Herbert, 4 interceptions that he threw in that game. He only had 3 during the entire regular season. Robert Griffin chiming in on this and saying that he hopes that Justin Herbert gets the same type of criticism for his playoff, let's say, disappointment that Lamar Jackson and Dak Prescott have received. An interesting thought from Robert Griffin, and I think a lot of us probably are reading between the lines there. I don't think you have to be a super genius to read between the lines of Robert Griffin's tweet. But this brings me back to Clay Travis and ESPN. Clay Travis making a prediction, and let's just go ahead and go to it. He tweeted this out, predicting that, and I'm just going to go ahead and read Clay's words here. Sigh. ESPN has already turned the entire MVP race into a racial debate between Lamar and Josh Allen. The game will be the next extension of that. I'm just telling you what's coming. Buckle up. Those of us who are fans of both and just want a great game will be mostly ignored. And then he had someone who responded to him and said, well, hey, wait a minute. Aren't you the one who's making it an issue by predicting that? And I think that that is a fair counterpoint made by Clay's audience there. In predicting it, Clay is bringing it to attention and he's making it a conversation. But on the other hand, you certainly can see where the prediction comes from, because if you look at ESPN's playbook, they seem to be race obsessed over there when it comes to football. Marcus Freeman, right? First question he gets after winning the Orange Bowl. How does it feel to be the first black coach going to the BCS championship game or the CFP championship game? All right. Stephen A. Smith and others talking about, well, why do they call it Black Friday in the NFL? Black Monday, rather. Why don't they call it White Monday in the league? So finding ways to interject race into everything. And I think that where ESPN has gone wrong here, look, first of all, I condemn racism completely and entirely. There is no room for racism in our society. And our society has come a lot further, I would argue, than ESPN gives it credit for. Because the obsession over there about this issue seems to be shall I say that ESPN's demand for racism exceeds the supply of racism in our society, and certainly in sports. And the idea here to start comparing quarterbacks by their skin color. Look, I know there was a bias for a long time about black quarterbacks. Warren Moon went and played 5 years, I think it was, in the CFL. That would never happen today. We remember that is a thing. I mean, go back in every sport. Jackie Robinson, integrating baseball in 1947. It was Texas Western that beat the Kentucky Wildcats in the 1966 NCAA basketball tournament, starting all 5 black guys when Adolph Rupp had yet to ever recruit a black guy. Look, the history of racism in sports in this country is clear and it's shameful in many cases. However, I would say to ESPN and anyone who wants to concern troll over white quarterbacks versus black quarterbacks looking for racism, such as Robert Griffin III, I don't see it. Okay? Think about this, folks. There have been 4 black MVP quarterbacks in the history of the NFL. Lamar's got 2. Mahomes has 2. Cam Newton won the MVP in 2015, and Steve Air McNair was the Associated Press NFL MVP in 2003. So we have 6 MVP awards to the credit of black quarterbacks in the history of the NFL, 4 different guys. You may also remember Robert Griffin III and the worldwide leader, and I still associate RG3. He's still got that ESPN in his system. There's no doubt about it. All right? That's where he cut his teeth, and he's still carrying that ESPN energy with him wherever he goes. But 2023 NFL draft, first pick in the draft, black quarterback, Bryce Young, Carolina Panthers. Second pick in the draft, CJ Stroud, black quarterback, Houston Texans. Let's move forward to 2024. First pick in the draft, Caleb Williams, black quarterback, Chicago Bears. Jaden Daniels, who we just saw win a playoff game last night. Stroud won one on Saturday. Jaden Daniels, number 2 pick in the draft, black quarterback, Washington Commanders. We have seen black quarterbacks go 1-2, 1-2 the last 2 years. That doesn't seem very racist to me. It seems like a league where teams are trying to get the best possible player, and if the best possible player is a black quarterback, everybody's on board for that. I was thrilled to death to see Caleb Williams come to Chicago. It's been a shit show here. And I still believe that Caleb Williams can be a highly effective NFL quarterback when he's not getting sacked 69 times or ever how many times it was that porous Bears offensive line let him end up on his ass. All right. But what are we talking about, ESPN? Black quarterbacks won 4 of the 5 playoff games this weekend. Seem to be doing just fine. I don't see where the issue is, but ESPN is going in search of a narrative. They're perpetuating a narrative. And look, I've often said 10% of our society is just fucking stupid. You're never going to eliminate racism entirely, just like you're never going to eliminate crime entirely. You're never going to eliminate child abuse entirely, etc., etc. Look, we want to keep those things as much to a minimum as we possibly can, but I don't know. If you looked around you lately, some people are just fucking dumb. And so if ESPN wants to focus on the stupidest 10% of society, and sometimes I wonder if ESPN isn't in the stupidest 10% of society in the way that they choose to cover sports and culture, you can do that. Psychologists will tell you that you are your thoughts. If you get up in the morning and you think about how fucking bad your life is, the reality is it's going to seep into the way that you see everything. All right? If you get up in the morning and you think that your life's pretty good, suddenly you start building some positive momentum. And I would like to see ESPN get in touch with the 90% of Americans who don't give a shit what the color of their quarterback is, as long as their quarterback plays well. Believe me. Speaking of MVPs in this league, there have been 2 defensive players who have won the Most Valuable Player award in my lifetime. And you're looking at one of them. The other is Lawrence Taylor, who you may remember. This is Alan Page, who was the MVP of the National Football League in 1971 as a defensive lineman. You may never see that again. He completed his law degree while he was still an active player. He spent over 20 years on the bench as a highly respected judge in the state of Minnesota. I believe he was on the state Supreme Court, if I'm not mistaken. And he plays the fucking sousaphone. How's your life going? That's a resume right there from Alan Page. One of the greats. It's quarterbacks, though, man. See? We're talking about quarterbacks. We're not seeing race injected into other positions. It's being injected into the quarterback position because that's your glamour position in the league. And so we've all got to be worrying about quarterbacks. And by the way, there have been 2 defensive players who have won the MVP award in my lifetime. And there's actually been a kicker who won it as well. Take a look at this. Mark Mosley, 1982 NFL MVP. More MVP awards than Jerry Rice, motherfucker. Don't tell Robert Griffin III that. But I attribute that to good old-fashioned American stupidity and nothing more. He made 84% of his extra points the year that he was the MVP of the league. Can you imagine? A kicker. You'll never see it again in your lifetime, my friends. The kicker was the MVP, and he made 84% of his extra points that year. You can't make it up. All right, in Washington, last night, Washington beats the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Jaden Daniels, rookie quarterback on the road, playoff victory already for this kid. So things are looking up in Washington. Look, if you want to talk about kicking has gotten so much better. I've said before, there's few things in American society that have improved as dramatically over the last 40 years as place kicking. And maybe it's improved a little too much because these guys kick it through the end of the end zone now. We don't get any kickoff returns. I've had it with the dynamic kickoff. Let's drop this charade, my friend, shall we? Maybe we're at the point they're only returning just a couple percent more than they did before they instituted this thing. It's a gimmick. It doesn't feel right. Every time there's a kickoff, it's fucking weird. They don't return most of them anyway. Can we just bring back real kickoffs? Look, some jobs are more dangerous than others. Some people go out and they work in a coal mine. Some people are out there, they're working on an oil rig somewhere. They know their job's dangerous. Some people choose to enter fields that are going to be more dangerous than others. They didn't go for the cubicle, the safe cubicle somewhere. Can we just accept that there's going to be some danger in football and that kickoffs are going to have high impact collisions? And there's some people out there in the world that are willing to go out there and get concussed for our entertainment. This isn't the Roman Coliseum exactly. Does that make me a bad person? I just want regular kickoffs. We still have them in college football. I know that the NFL is the best of the best, but is it really that much worse than in college football? Give me real kickoffs, for God's sakes. And for that matter, give me the international streaming star who joins me now from Nashville, Tennessee. I speak, of course, of Ronnie T-shirts. And Ronnie, ESPN, they just have a voracious appetite for, I don't know, they're just looking in every nook and cranny for any sign of any sort of negativity that they can pull out and blow up into a huge thing. When I look at the NFL today, and when I look at American society today, I'm by no means saying that there's no racism in America. Of course there is. Of course there is still racism out there in the world. But ESPN, to hear them tell it, it's like the driving impetus of American society. And I think most of us sports fans, we just want to watch the games, cheer for our favorite players, praise the players who do well, regardless of what their race is, and criticize the players who don't perform well, regardless of what their race is. Am I oversimplifying this?
No, you're not. But I'm going to ask you a question. I ask you this question a lot, and I think you get annoyed with me sometimes, but I'm still going to ask you. Why do they do it? Like, what are they getting from it? I guess at one point, virtue signaling was this big thing, and you wanted people to look at you and think, oh, wow, they're virtuous. They care more than other people do. But it's clearly that whole kind of way of doing things is kind of backfired in American society. So why do you think that they keep doing it? There's no money trail there because, we always talk about, well, follow the money, and that's why they do it. So seriously, why do you think they just keep doing it?
Well, I think there's a certain amount of being sanctimonious going on here, that they are perched in their tower of moral purity, calling out anybody else who doesn't rise to that level. But look, I agree with you. I don't know who wants to hear it. I mean, among any of us, black, white, Asian, polka dot, you name it. I think I speak for the vast majority of the public when I say that when we want to watch sports, we don't need ESPN there shoehorning in whatever their agenda is. And look, if I thought that this was like a real major issue that was going on in society, I would not critique them for it. But you tell me where is the anti-black quarterback racism in the NFL today? I think the two best quarterbacks in the NFL are Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. And I think that Lamar Jackson is the MVP of the league. I don't see any discussion between Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. That if you want to make it black, white, no, it's great quarterback and great quarterback. Mm-hmm. And if I had an MVP vote, I think the MVP of the league this year, and I don't even think that it is, and this is no discredit to Josh Allen, who I love, but I think Lamar Jackson was clearly the MVP of the league this year, and he would get my vote, Ronnie.
Yeah, he's just the eye test, man. Forget about looking at the stats, because I saw their stats side by side last night, and I mean, Josh, as good as Josh's stats are, I mean, Lamar's are visibly better. They're like, you can just look at them and go, wow, those are better. But then I mean, he's just good. The things that he can do, but Josh is so good too. Like, it's just one of these things is, why can't we just have this conversation about, holy crap, we lucky to have these quarterbacks that are this good?
I love Josh Allen, but he shouldn't get the MVP. I hope that Lamar wins the MVP because he deserves it. Because if Josh wins it, I'm not going to say that that's racism if he wins it, but it is going to open the door to more of this discussion, because it's going to be the wrong MVP, and some people are going to look at it as a racial thing. But
I think that if Josh Allen wins, it'll be for one of two reasons. I think it'll be because a little bit of Lamar fatigue, right? Because he's already won two, and sometimes that's how voters do things,
right?
It's how sometimes
Jordan could have won what
every time,
8 or 9 MVPs, 10 MVPs. They would give it to Karl Malone or Barkley or somebody else just because. It's like Ohtani not winning the MVP against Aaron Judge a couple of years ago.
I mean, I don't think Urban Meyer won a Coach of the Year in the Big Ten while he was there. If he did, it was one. And I mean, we were just running through the Big Ten. So that happens sometimes. And then the only other thing I can think about is, it feels like Josh is doing a little. Is Josh more important to his team than Lamar is, because Lamar has Derrick Henry now, and that makes a big difference. So I could see somebody swaying their vote to Josh because of that. But if you just look at like who's the better quarterback, man, Lamar's so good. Like, he's just so good.
I'm telling you right now, man, I play in the quarterback position at a higher level than anybody in the league, and I would include Mahomes in that this year for sure. Look, maybe the problem is, Ron, maybe we're watching too much TV. Maybe we need to read more books. Ron, did you see A.J. Brown was caught on the sideline during the Eagles-Packers game reading a book? Take a look at this. The book is called Inner Excellence. And there he is, just taking a little time to nourish his mind between possessions. And apparently this book is now like selling out. Every Eagles fan is going to have this book on their shelf. Ron, there's probably a joke there about that being the first book that a lot of Eagles fans have read in a long time. No, I'm kidding, Eagles fans. But there it is. I don't think I've ever seen
Did you see the interview with him?
His reading before.
There was an interview with him after the game, and they were asking.
I did not.
Yeah, they were asking him about it, and they were asking him about it, and he said, it's something I do. It helps center me. I think he said center me. Maybe he said something different, but it doesn't. your first reaction is, what's he doing? He should be paying attention to the game. But I mean, how's it any different than somebody taking a quiet moment just to kind of meditate and just kind of get themselves straight? If that's what helps him kind of get his mind
Yeah.
right, I'm all for it.
Hey, listen, he's had a pretty good career. If he wants to read a book on the sidelines, who am I to tell him he's doing something wrong? Um, Makes me think of this though, Ron. Do you think he's going to be able to trade in for some free pizza at some point? Reading books for pizza is the kind of social contract that made this nation great, Ron. Back in the day, Pizza Hut. Do you remember the Book It program?
I do. It wasn't the Book It program, but I was in second grade, and a lot of people probably think that I got this. I was able to do what I got to do because my mom was the librarian at our school, so she probably fudged the results. But I promise you, she didn't.
Uh-oh.
Is
Oh, no.
whoever read the most books, and you had to keep a tally of all the books that you read, and I got to, and it was the coolest thing ever at the time, and it still might be one of the coolest things I've ever done. Is I got to go to the Highlight restaurant that doesn't exist anymore in Columbus. It was a place where you went and got, it was kind of a steakhouse. And I got to sit at a table with, I believe, 6 other elementary school kids from around the Columbus area and an Ohio State football player. And the football player that I got to sit with was, funny that you said this, it was a black quarterback in the 70s, Cornelius Green. And it was, I mean, I'm just kind of getting chills right now thinking about it. It was, imagine Ricky being 7 years old, being 7 years old and getting to eat lunch with your hero, Ricky. Like, this is a guy that was my hero. And so, so I had a similar experience with the reading, like the Book It program.
Reading is fundamental.
It's fundamental.
Ron. That's what they used to say, and you earned that. Have you heard that? Ron, I think I've said before on this show, one of my favorite statistics in sports is the Pittsburgh Steelers have had 3 head coaches since 1969, which is remarkable, especially with all the talk that we have in the NFL every year. Who's been fired, who's getting hired, all of this stuff. They've had 3. And Mike Tomlin has been the coach for 17 years, something in that neighborhood.
I think. Yeah.
All right. Well, there are rumors out there. Adam Schefter is reporting that there are teams that would be interested in trading for Mike Tomlin. And we heard the same thing with O'Connell in Minnesota, that there are teams that want to trade for a coach, which is it may not be unprecedented, but I can't remember the last time that somebody traded for a coach.
Didn't Gruden get traded?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's rare, very rare. So Mike Tomlin, once again, is catching shit because the Steelers made the playoffs and they got bounced. Mike Tomlin, who I believe has never had a losing season, or God, how many years in a row has it been that since he's had a losing season? The guy's one of the best in the business. One of my favorite coaches of all time. I think he's a great coach, but familiarity breeds contempt sometimes. What do you think about the possibility of some team out there trading for Mike Tomlin, who apparently has a no trade clause in his contract, so he would have to approve any type of deal, it seems, according to Schefter?
Man, it feels like it would just be easier to get a good quarterback because they've not had a good quarterback since Ben Roethlisberger. And I'm being facetious. I know it's hard to find a good quarterback, but it doesn't really feel like it's been a Mike Tomlin problem. It feels like they have just that quarterback position has just been killing them, man, since Big Ben left.
Well, I'm surprised that Justin Fields didn't just solve every issue since. You've admitted now that Justin Fields is a backup.
Listen, there's a part of me there's still a part of me that wants to see him get a real chance, but I don't know. But yeah. You win.
He's
you
definitely
win.
good enough. He's going to have a long career anyway. I mean, he kept the car on the road for the Steelers at the start of the year. I mean, so I mean, he profiles as a guy who's going to be around the NFL for a long time. We'll see if he ever finds the right situation or not. Sean Payton, I'm being told by Tim, is the last coach who was traded, and that happened a couple of years ago. Speaking of trades, if you're going to make a trade, try to make a good one. The Falcons don't catch nearly enough shit for trading Brett Favre, so I'm here to remind everyone you did that, you dumb fucks. And that's an evergreen Super 70s tweet right there. In fact,
to be fair,
when we had Brett Favre on the program, I showed him that tweet, and we got a chuckle from Brett Favre.
To be fair, Ricky, did they really know he was Brett Favre when they traded him?
Well, obviously not. If they had known that he was Brett Favre, they wouldn't have done that. But maybe if they kept him around for a little while, they would have found out he was Brett
Hindsight's
Favre.
20/20, man.
Well, of course it is. But that's just how it goes. Look, speaking of coaches, Ron, I've been joking about the Bears here. The Bears, I follow the Bears on Facebook, and every time the fucking Bears interview somebody for the head coaching position, they post about it. They say, we have interviewed, candidate Mike Vrabel, who obviously is not going to be the Bears' next coach. Unfortunately, would have been thrilled to have him, but New England gets him. But everyone, Ron Rivera was the most recent one. I've seen something like probably at least 10 names. The Bears are so proud. It's like when you're in 7th grade and you talk to a girl and you want to brag to your friends. I talked to a girl. So the Bears are letting us know. They're talking to everybody out there. We interviewed this person.
We're trying.
It's more like
we're trying.
I am way less interested in how many people you interview than can you get it right. But a rumor that is out there is that the Bears have been linked to Mike McCarthy. The Bears have been linked to a lot of people, but the Bears possibly interested in Notre Dame's Marcus Freeman is what we're hearing. Take a look at this. Marcus Freeman, 39 years old, 10 years as an assistant coach, got the head coaching gig at Notre Dame. He's been there for a short while. He has certainly taken the world of college football by storm, Ron. What do you think of the possibility of Marcus Freeman parlaying this great 2024 Notre Dame season into being the head coach of the Chicago Bears?
Ricky, the one question I would ask if I was a Bears fan is, can you tell me all the former college football coaches that succeeded as head coaches in the NFL? I think there's 2. Jimmy Johnson and Pete Carroll.
Pete Carroll did a good job.
So I said Pete Carroll and Jimmy Johnson. Am I missing anybody?
Well, you're asking me to think off the top of my head, Ronnie.
Right, but if there was an obvious answer, you would have said it, right? Pete Carroll, Jimmy Johnson.
We could be missing somebody. You're putting us on the spot.
Sure.
Jim Harbaugh made a good transition his first time and his second time, despite the loss on Saturday.
It just doesn't happen very often.
Almost won a Super Bowl. No, it doesn't. And Marcus Freeman, look, I've said I'm really high on him. I think he's great. I'm a Marcus Freeman fan. But, jumping to the NFL right as he's just really getting established, might be too much too soon, pushing it a little bit here. As a Bears fan, I don't want to say that I don't want Marcus Freeman, because I've seen the coaches that we've hired over the course of the last 20 plus years. But I don't know that it's ideal to go with a still relatively inexperienced college coach, even one as talented as Marcus Freeman is. Let's go to the words of Mark Zuckerberg speaking to Joe Rogan.
these people from the Biden administration would call up our team and like scream at them and curse, and it's like these documents it's all kind of out there.
Oh, did you record any of those phone calls?
I don't think we were, but I think
I want to listen.
I mean, there are emails. the emails are published. It's all kind of out there, and they're like, and basically it just got to this point where we were like, no, we're not gonna take down things that are true. That's ridiculous. They wanted us to take down this meme of Leonardo DiCaprio looking at a TV talking about how 10 years from now or something, you're going to see an ad that says, okay, if you took a COVID vaccine, you're eligible for, for this kind of payment, like this sort of like class action lawsuit type meme. And they're like, no, you have to take that down. And we just said, no, we're not going to take down humor and satire. We're not going to take down things that are true.
All right, Ron. Mark Zuckerberg, newly anointed free speech absolutist, I guess. How is it playing with you so far? The transformation of Mark Zuckerberg after Donald Trump won the election.
So many questions, man. Like, why? Like, were they being threatened with like the government was going to shut them down and there was nothing they could do about it? Like, I don't understand why this is coming out now. Why didn't he stand up to? He clearly thinks it's wrong. I don't think that he had some shift in how he thinks. He knew it was wrong back then, so he just cowered and just took it. Like, I guess I don't understand. That's what I don't understand, is I don't understand why he didn't stand up to him back then. And again, we weren't there. We don't know what the threats were against them, but I don't know. It just feels like a little too late, right? And I don't know. I don't.
Well, it's never
too
late. It's never too late to do the right thing.
It's not too late to do the right thing, but it's too late. But I'm not gonna pat you on the back at this point, I guess, yeah.
We're not gonna throw him up on our shoulders like he just won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I think it would have looked a lot more heroic if he'd spoken out about this at the time that it was happening.
Right.
Saying, hey, wait a minute, you're doing this to us and talking about it. But so I do get that, but I'm still glad that it's happened, because the alternative is the status quo of the way that things were before, with them cracking down on everything. Look, I mean, it's like Mark Zuckerberg probably feels like a huge burden has been lifted from him now that he can speak frankly. And you might need a huge burden lifted from somebody in your family. If you do, head on down to the St. Thomas Satanic Exorcism. Ron, on Wednesday, August the 7th, they're going to be exorcising any demons that you need out of any of your beloved family members. And then, of course, don't forget to stick around for all the fried chicken you can eat from 5 to 8 p.m. It's just 50 cents. So not even Colonel Sanders could do that for you.
You want to see somebody that responds to your house, your emergency, whether it's a medical call or a fire call, that looks like you. It gives that person a little bit more ease, knowing that somebody might understand their situation better. Is she strong enough to do this? Or, you couldn't carry my husband out of a fire, which my response is, he got himself in the wrong place if I have to carry him out of a fire.
All right, Ron, there's a throwback to
again
Friday's program. Christine Larson, look, that's going to live in infamy. That if you're in the fire, you're in the wrong place. That is exactly what you want to hear from a firefighter, right? Especially somebody who's in a high capacity within the organization. Just unbelievable. Ron, we've got some breaking news though here. I was gonna clown her for a little bit longer, but we're being told breaking here, man. This is where we get to be real journalists.
All right.
Mike McCarthy is out as the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
I didn't think that was going to happen.
McCarthy is on the market. Chicago Bears probably are already talking to him right now.
Well, you'll find out on Facebook if they do.
Yes, they'll be sure to let me know. But Mike McCarthy out. I don't think that is a surprise, although he had sort of played himself back into, well, maybe they'll keep him since the Cowboys kind of held the season together. But Mike McCarthy, 3 12-win seasons in a row before this year, but he's out. And I would suspect that he just went near the top of a lot of teams' wish list as we go through this offseason, Ronnie. He's got to be a player for a number of vacancies. I would imagine. And well, I don't know who dresses better, NFL coaches or John Fetterman. We're in the era of NFL coaches dressing for comfort rather than for fashion. There's no Tom Landrys or Hank Strams anymore. In fact, it's against league rules. So they're a lot closer to Bill Belichick and John Fetterman when it comes to that. Let's listen to John Fetterman talking to Joe Rogan about his sartorial lack of splendor.
And then the whole nation just had like a meltdown, like, oh my God, the Senate's on fire because I dress like a slob. But my life is just much better in D.C. that unless that I'm going to be on the floor, that I'm not going to be, you're never going to see me in a suit. And I think that's a more authentic kind of way that I live. And I don't judge anybody on how they dress or those things. I just dress this way. And there's also practical issues as well, too. Like I have chopstick legs and I have no ass and I can't keep pants up. and hoodies, it's like I don't have to iron that shit.
John Fetterman, is he becoming like one of the most likable sons of bitches in this entire country? This guy?
I think so.
He is the definition of a dude that you would just want to sit down, have a beer with, who's just a regular guy, who just common sense dude. I'm telling you, man, like I hope that he is a foundation of the Democratic Party going forward, because if they can catch some John Fetterman energy, this entire country is going to be a lot better off, Ron.
Well, Ricky, what I think is interesting about Fetterman is I feel like because of how he is and his demeanor and his personality, if I went and sat down with him and had a conversation, I'd be absolutely open to hearing his ideas and maybe changing the way I've been thinking about things. But if I was going to sit down with Elizabeth Warren or AOC, there's no chance I would listen to anything that they had to say, because I'd go into it just hating them already. Fetterman should get considered for the next Democratic nominee for president, because he just has a certain way about himself that I think that people that are not on the left would be willing to hear what he has to say, because it feels like common sense, good guy, thoughtful approach.
Hey, OutKick fans on YouTube, if you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button and make your way over to OutKick.com where you can watch the full episode.